to it.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, it means from today until 4 p.m. Eastern on March 3rd, teams can apply the franchise or transition tags to a player. One player per team maximum each year, and the franchise tag obviously keeps a potential free agent player off the market while the team ostensibly works to do a long-term deal with that player. Transition tag, same thing, but at a lower price and with different kind of conditions.
Yeah, and that's important too because it opens today, but there's certainly an amount of time to get this thing done. So now that we've set it up, let's run a little bit of the hurry-up offense. When you look at this big picture, Dan, of all the players that could be tagged, which player is most likely to be tagged at the end of the franchise tag window?
George Pickens of the Cowboys. I mean, this is a situation where they've had him for 1 year. They're already paying CeeDee Lamb top of the market wide receiver money. George Pickens, a franchise tag would probably be about $28 million this year. Cowboys would do a long-term deal with him, but that could be a long and protracted negotiation. I know that sounds shocking. We talk about the Cowboys, but I think that's probably what happened.
Every year they have one, and that could be the one. Moves made yesterday. What were they?
Dolphins cutting a lot of cap space. The most prominent release they made was wide receiver Tyreek Hill, who now becomes a free agent, free to sign with any team anytime he wants. Doesn't need to wait till next March, or until next month rather, which is March. But Tyreek Hill coming off a significant injury, and we'll see what the level of interest is in him at 32 years old.
Yeah, and then one of the things, if we're connecting the dots now, as we bring in Dominic Foxworth and Tim Hasselbeck, Nick, the biggest thing here is like, oh, he's free again, Tyreek Hill. He's going to be reunited with the Chiefs. That's the common thought because it's easy to do that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a talent like Tyreek Hill, most teams would be willing to add him to the roster, but I think Graz already alluded to the big question marks around him. He's coming off of a really severe injury where he dislocated his kneecap and tore a number of ligaments, and he'll be 32 next month, which is around the age where receivers fall off. So if he goes to the Chiefs, I think the expectation should not be, or if he goes anywhere, honestly, the expectation should not be that he's a true number one. Of course, he'll have an impact because he's that type of athlete, but I think he's past the point in his career where you can build an offense around him being the explosive players, and I think the Chiefs already know that.
Yeah, but he is a nice veteran receiver. If you bring him in and he is healthy again, you said he's got the speed, he can come in and make something happen. Should he reunite with the Chiefs, and that offense needs a bit of a pick-me-up. So, Graz, that was some of the moves with the Dolphins yesterday. What was another move, or what could they do coming up next?
Well, they also released a couple other guys, most prominently Bradley Chubb, the edge rusher, but the key question for the Dolphins now is quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, who was benched toward the end of last year. Now you have a new coach and a new GM coming in. Tua guaranteed $54 million this year, even if they were to release him. So the Dolphins not in a hurry to make that move. I think they believe there's a chance at least, or at least some hope, that they could work out a trade with some other team for Tua Tagovailoa. They might have to eat a chunk of that money in order to do that. But if they cut him, it's $99.2 million in dead money, which is a monster number that they'd love to find some way to avoid.
And Tim, we know Tua didn't even finish the season as the starter for the Dolphins. So what do you think his future looks like with Miami?
Yeah, I think the decision's been made on him in Miami. And, Graz alluded to it. They're either going to cut him and eat the entire, dead cap money. It's a reset in Miami. Obviously, new head coach. You look at the division. They're not in a win-now situation when you look at New England and Buffalo. And so you look at these players that they're releasing. It's a rebuild in Miami. So, look, if Miami can find a trade partner where, they take the sting out of it a little bit, eat some of the contract, but somebody assumes the rest of his contract because they're looking for a veteran quarterback, then fine. I think that's really unlikely to happen. Ultimately, Miami probably ends up cutting him and then just taking their medicine now as they try to rebuild.
Make?
Yeah, and I think Tua has the pedigree of a quarterback that I think would be pretty attractive. But given the fact that he hasn't had that much success and he has a pretty prominent injury history and a huge contract, I think it's going to be hard for them to move him. And it's certainly going to be difficult for anyone who thinks they're going to take on some of that cap hit to relieve the Dolphins. They're in a bad spot, but I think someone will take Tua once they finally release him. But it's going to be a real challenge to figure out where somebody will be interested in trading for him, despite the fact that I think talent-wise, he's better than a lot of the quarterbacks that are out there right now.
And you wonder if he's even better than Quinn Ewers, who they ended the season with. You've got to expect they're going to do something at quarterback. Even
if they were to release Tua, they'll bring in somebody else. They have Ewers, who played at the end of last year. I just want to make the point, though, the $99.2 million in dead money is a huge number, would be a record. but it's roughly the same percentage of this year's salary cap, projected salary cap, that the $80 million was 2 years ago when the Broncos cut Russell Wilson. Obviously, they've been able to rebound pretty quickly, so it's not necessarily a death sentence for their cap.
Some would say the Dolphins have 99 problems and 2 isn't one. Hembo loved it.
Some might say. We'll look for somebody else.
All right, still ahead is win or bust for the Knicks this season. And could their championship window close before it even really opens? Our crew breaks it down next. Plus, the pressure is mounting in Buffalo. What moves should they make to give Josh Allen the best shot at a Super Bowl? That and more when Get Up rolls on. And during the break, I'll give Graz every Jay-Z.
I know whose line it was.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you?
I don't know.
You didn't respond to it. Like me,
Come on, man. Give me something.
Back on Get Up, back to the NFL. Today being the first day that teams can designate franchise or transition players. Now entering into an important stretch of the NFL offseason schedule. Wins or losses can happen on this schedule right here. Scouting combine next week. The negotiating period for unrestricted free agents less than 3 weeks away. So we believe last year Seahawks, Patriots, and Bears, they won the offseason through various acquisitions. So it's time to see who can win the offseason this year that will pay dividends in season. So Hasselbeck, which team is in position to make a jump like the 2 teams we saw in the Super Bowl, Seahawks and Patriots?
I look at the New York Giants as a team, second-year quarterback, significant changes in terms of, adding a head coach with, obviously a track record of success in the National Football League, and a team that I think, probably has more talent around the quarterback than New England did, after Drake May's first season. So I think there'll have to be some changes, in terms of, how Jackson Dart plays. I think obviously, Malik Neighbors, his health, that'll have an impact. Scatterboo, his health. Those types of things will have a major impact, but you look at the division, you look at the fact that there's talent on the team. Can they make a big jump? Quite frankly, I feel like they can.
Yeah, and you would argue, too, they've already won the offseason by getting one of the most coveted head coaches on the market, in John Harbaugh. So, Nick, we talked about this yesterday. Giants are trendy right now. Do you think they are in position to win this offseason?
Absolutely. I think they still have the number 5 overall pick, which will help them. That'll be a contributor right away. You combine that with the fact that they have important players at all the key positions. So like a left tackle, they have that. A quarterback, they have it. A number 1 receiver, they have it. They have, you need like a pass rusher to close the game. They have a number of pass rushers that can close the game. I think depending on how the coordinators pan out, this team could be really competitive in a division that sometimes is pretty unpredictable, as Graziano knows.
Yeah, and look, and this is one of those times, Graziano, we talk about it. When you look at these teams and the moves they make from now till training camp can dictate success. Having said that, which team do you believe is under the most pressure to have a good offseason?
The Buffalo Bills. If you get to the second round of the playoffs and fire your 9-year head coach, that means you're wanting to win now. And the Buffalo Bills are under pressure to put together a team that can do that. We've reached the point in Josh Allen's career where the narrative around him is, are the Bills failing Josh Allen? Obviously, they don't want to be known as a team that did that. New head coach Joe Brady, general manager Brandon Beane, under a great deal of pressure to get the roster to a point where they can get that AFC East title back and make a run at the Super Bowl.
And look, I'll take it one step further. You finally got Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs out of the way. And you couldn't take advantage of that in the postseason. They get rid of the coach. Tim, do you agree that the Bills are under the most pressure coming into the season?
Well, I agree with everything that Graz said in terms of the pressure, the challenges, and the expectation when you do what they did moving on from Sean McDermott. I'll throw another team out there. How about the Dallas Cowboys? We talked about it earlier in the show, in terms of how they're handling or how they have handled contracts in past years. Well, now they're going to be front and center again with George Pickens, who I think a lot of people believe could be the best receiver in the game or one of the best receivers in the game. And so you're going to have that. You're also going to have the fact that they're going to be probably looking for an edge rusher. Remember, they had an edge rusher that they didn't get under contract. So I think that Dallas, because it's just the nature of it, and quite frankly, because of how they've handled talent that they've had in their building, I think they're going to be under quite a bit of scrutiny when you look at how they handle the offseason.
Yeah, Dallas is under pressure every year because Jerry Jones, can he balance the checkbook properly at the right time? So, Nick, our friends have given you a choice, Bills or Cowboys. Who do you believe is under the most pressure to win the offseason?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think both of these organizations recently at least have been used to some level of disappointment, but I think the Cowboys fans are a little bit more used to it. And when you have a quarterback like Josh Allen playing the way that he's playing, not that Dak isn't playing well, but I feel like the focus on Josh Allen and the decisions that were made at that organization, I think it heightens the pressure. We're all waiting for Josh Allen to get over that hump, and it seems like they're pointing to Sean McDermott as the reason why they have not. So I think a lot of pressure falls on not just Josh Allen, but probably more Brandon Beane, the general manager, who seems like he was at the helm for the most important decisions in that organization right now.
And look, we see it in the NFL year in and year out. It's structured this way for each team to have competitive balance to get to the point where they're in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl. So you can go from worst to first in